Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the New Theory Podcast. Today, we have a very, very special guest, Sabino, Curcio, or as you say, Curcio, joining us from Brooklyn, New Jersey. He is the Growing Up Italian podcast. I came across this, had to have him on. As you guys know, I had many Italian guests on the line. It's my heritage. Hey, it's my show. Kind of do what I want type thing. And I wanted to have him on, talk about the Italian culture, talk about him and what he's doing. Sabino, welcome to the New Theory Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Okay, so let's cut to it. So you told me, prior to the call, you're a 28-year-old nice guy, right, Italian guy. Give us your background. Where'd you grow up and kind of what made you you?
Before we get into all that, I just want to shout out my younger sister and my cousin Rocco that also helped me on the podcast.
Nice.
And they honestly started the Instagram page about 2 years ago.
Nice.
And we had an idea to just do this Italian podcast, pushing Italian culture. And yeah, it's been amazing so far. But as far as we go, we come from La Campagna in Italy.
Of course, nice.
Which is like the mountains of Italy. Like a lot of people don't know about it.
Campagna is a province, though, right?
Campagna is a province, yeah.
And then what's the name of the town?
Sanza. But my cousin, my dad's from Sanza, and my mom's from Sassano. So my cousin that also helps on the page, his parents are both from Sassano.
Okay.
And these are like villages, we're like 20 minutes apart, and there's like 3,000 people in these villages. So it's very small, very old school. They're behind like 20 years. So basically when we started this Instagram page, we would see like a lot of other pages post memes, and I'm like, yo, we could do this too, like in our version, because like there's a bunch of Sicilians, like Calabres.
Yep.
But like our zone doesn't really get a lot of recognition because not a lot of people are from there, you know?
Exactly. It's like kind of a boutique thing. Like, so my family is from Vallata, which is Avellino, which I gotta
so you're close to us.
That's what I'm saying. It's like very close. And I hate to say this, but you can like throw a dart in that area. So whether it's Vallata, I had great guy on, Lorenzo Vitello. His family's from Dorenzano, which is not far. Like all these towns are different. They're the same, but they're different. You know. So if you do things that are specific to that town in terms of your Instagram, that will resonate with me. But also the broader stuff that you do. So I love it. Okay, so you started the Instagram page, a few years ago. Your sister, I think you said, right? And
my sister, my cousin Rocco.
Beautiful. Your sister, your cousin Rocco. We all have a cousin Rocco, right? So you put it together, started an Instagram page. Podcasting became hot right now. I think there's over 20,000 podcasts at minimum. So what got you into podcasting? Because I'm gonna throw it out there. You seem like a good guy. You're a young guy. Podcasting,
really,
seems like an old guy
the
game. But you're young,
The reason it really started was like we were just like talking about like how you don't see like Italian culture on like mainstream anymore. Like I feel like Italian culture kind of took a dip.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know what? Like let's do something to really push our culture and try to keep it alive, keep it going.
Yeah, I agree.
So
now
like
you grew up in, keep going. So I have some few background
we
questions.
We release a podcast every week,
nice.
And we feature Italian guests mostly, but even like people. We have like an old like school Italian American. He's like third generation, and he was telling us the history of our neighborhood, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and how it's gentrified. So we don't only just have Italian guests, but like we're just like really pushing Italian culture a lot.
Love it. Now, being from Brooklyn, we're in Brooklyn. Give us a neighborhood, and then give us has it changed, good or bad, because that's one of the things that I think people appreciate with your Instagram. You kind of talk about, like kind of some of the past, but also the present. So, yeah, give us what neighborhood and how did it change.
So we're from Williamsburg, East Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Like, we don't really get viewed a lot as, like, the Italian neighborhood compared to, like, Bensonhurst, Bay Ridge, and, you know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So, but there's definitely still a couple Italians out here.
Nice.
We had a bunch of social clubs years ago.
Yeah.
Now there's still a couple left. We're holding on tight.
Yeah.
My family's part of some.
Nice.
And we just like, it's still very Italian. Like, we got a bunch of pastry shops. I actually own a panini shop too.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's
what's the name of it? Give it a plug.
It's called Anthony and Son Panini Shop, 433 Graham Avenue. Our
Beautiful.
Instagram handle is at Panini Shop, PANINISHOPPE.
Love it.
Our Instagram's really good. Not because it's me, but we started that Instagram a long time ago too, and we were lucky and had a bunch of people follow us early on. Now it's like so hard to get followers.
Well, all right. So I like to talk about pretty much, obviously, what's on my mind. We're going to talk about what's in your mind. So here's a few things cooking in my mind, okay? So I'm going to go to, like, the Italian guy now. I don't want to get into, like, the American side of me, but which obviously I'm proud to be an American, but I do consider myself, like you're Italian-American. So on the Italian side, and this is what I dislike, and I think you may agree. So I used to have this thing where I can guess where you're from in Italy by where your family moved to, and here's my rationale. If you were Sicilian, you're in Brooklyn, right? If you were Calabrese, which is a lot of, I was Newark, New Jersey, a ton. If you were like from like Avellino, a lot of my family were in Elizabeth. If you were like from like, and then some Sicilians in the Bronx, some Sicilians in Westchester. So so it's kind of funny where like, but my point being is, there's probably about a good 15 to 20 enclaves, Hoboken, et cetera, in this area that we knew growing up as quote unquote Italian neighborhoods, right? So Italian neighborhoods went one of two ways, and you know this. One was, hey, it was an immigrant neighborhood. People got in, they got the fuck out. I'm just calling it what it is.
Of course.
And listen, I get it. But number two, like we're seeing in Little Italy, what we're seeing, I think in Williamsburg, what we're seeing in other neighborhoods, it's getting gentrified. And here's kind of my beef. I'm going to go off on a tangent for a second, but here's my beef. So you come here, you start working, your union job that your uncle got you, and then you start your own, masonry firm, and then you start making money. What do? You move to Edison, New Jersey. You move to Staten Island. You move to Long Island. And God bless, right?
You move to the suburbs.
Exactly. But because of the gentrification, right, what the quote-unquote, I hate to say this, but WASPy people, sorry, but it is what I don't mean to be too divisive, but it is what it is, right, are coming into the Italian neighborhoods and then gentrifying them, putting their Starbucks, putting their Jamba Juice, putting in their Soul Cycle. God bless, right? But my one beef, and I want to know your thoughts. Why didn't we do that? Like, why didn't we, like, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, in Brooklyn, build the brownstone, make the neighborhood dope, and live there? We
want to live comfortable,
Yeah.
Like a lot of places you're talking about, like as far as Williamsburg goes, from my experiences, like I said, I'm only 20 years old, but I feel like I was brought up like a little faster than a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
And I picked on stuff early. Like people that sold their house right now, they're upset about it because, the real estate really went up. And to be honest with you, the reason why my family stayed here is because we own businesses and, it's very convenient.
You were rooted. You're rooted in the community, yeah.
A pipe breaks, you're there, It's not a 40-minute drive.
Correct.
So, we definitely really got a point where we were about to move out in the neighborhood. And my mom was really like, nah, we're not doing that because her mother lives down the block from us. So it's like, my mom's down the block. I'm not going anywhere. And, Yeah, well, it's just, I think a lot of people that did move out is because, like, you want to have your own backyard, your own parking space, your pool.
I get it. I get it, right? I do get it. Like, you want, listen, my family did the same thing. Would I want to live in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where they live? Does that neighborhood now? No. I'll be very However, if they built it up, and like again, where they like you're talking like there. Another quick story. So there used to be the cigar shop in Little Italy. It was on the second floor, and I don't think it was quite legal, but that's a whole other discussion. And I used to go there all the time. There were cops in there. There was everybody in there. It was just a good guy, good place. It was right across the street from Flores. I think the restaurant downstairs was Olivo or whatever, not Olivo. I forget the name of it, Piemonte, whatever it was called, right? And the father had the cigars downstairs, and if you knew somebody, you were able to get upstairs. And after a while, after like a year of trying, I finally got upstairs. And I used to go to this spot, right? And I used to have cigars, drinks, I had clients there. It was legit like a speakeasy. It probably operated, I believe, till roughly 2014, right? And what happened was, I just found out recently, because I would go to another cigar shop. I found out recently the guy who owned it was a young guy, had a heart, I think an issue with his brain, passed. And then the father, unfortunately, kind of lost his heart. He sold his building and passed. And that's like a unique situation. However, though, in Little Italy, it's down to a block pretty much because they're selling the buildings because, they bought buildings years ago. Now they're selling them because, like, they're worth 10 times, and they're doing it for the money. But that was my thing. But the NOLA, the part that's gentrified, is really nice. Now, you don't get the backyard,
what kind of bothers
but it's really
me about
nice.
That? What kind of bothers me about that?
Yeah.
Is I understand why a lot of people sell, because that's really where the wealth is,
Exactly.
Even if you don't want to, like, live there anymore, like, just rent it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, like, I don't believe in selling real estate that much, but, a lot of people, I guess, don't have that entrepreneurship mentality, so. But owning real estate is definitely wealth,
Well, okay, so I kind of touched on. Okay, so how did your neighborhood go? Did your neighborhood go not so great? Did it go gentrified? How did your block go? How did your neighborhood go?
Yeah, I mean, our neighborhood now it's like a lot of wealthy people. I'm sorry, hold on a second.
Okay.
I'm trying to mute this for you. So basically, like, it went from an area that nobody really wants to live in.
Yeah.
Like a very artsy neighborhood.
Yeah, so you're gonna have like the wine and cheese bar, which is it's not a bad thing. The wine and cheese bar in the corner. Well, the cool thing is the panini shop is kind of consistent with what like that demographic would like. So how does your business fare in this transition?
So to be honest with you, the business started as like a fruit store.
Okay.
And my dad kept making renovations a long time, so he didn't start selling these crazy sandwiches that we do now. So we actually changed with the neighborhood, to be completely honest with you. And
nice.
As a lot of people, like let's say a lot of the old school Italian butcher shops closed and stuff, we found a way to like survive it, because we make very trendy sandwiches that it doesn't matter if you're Italian or you want it, And not even to take away from the young urban people that live in Williamsburg now, but they're very aware of the food and stuff,
Well, so on this podcast, and I'll send you the links. We just met Sabino over email, so I don't split those to my podcast yet, but I'll get you some of the key emails, key podcast. And what I cover is lifestyle, which is this, and also entrepreneurship, which you're also an entrepreneur. And I think like one of the things that's lost in Italian culture, and again, it's not a bad thing per se, but it's just something to touch upon. When they, our parents, grandparents, and my brothers were born there. When you came from Italy, you had to hustle. You didn't have a choice. It's like Damon John's power broke. Like there was no like, hey, I'm going to hang out. My parents had 6 kids. They had a TV store. My mother was a seamstress. They had to work. They didn't have a choice, right? So as a result, my father was, an entrepreneur, small business owner, and he did quite well for a while. He had his demise, but that's a whole nother podcast. And and I was brought up, and I want to hear this from you. You either went into business and you opened up, a sandwich shop or a business, right? Or you went to school, which is also great, right? So in the beginning, I believe Italians actually fostered entrepreneurship, but then as I got older, my mother kind of wanted me to be safe, and she just wanted me to, not a bad thing, but get my master's degree, get the great job, which I did, and kind of live more of a corporate life. And I was kind of like, hey, Mom, like, you guys were entrepreneurs. So they actually looked down, not down, but my mother didn't love the entrepreneur side of me because she wanted me to be safe. How were your parents? Did your parents want you to go into the panini business, parents, or were they trying to talk you out of it?
I went to college for 2 years, then dropped out, and then went back, and then dropped out again. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But my parents always wanted me to go to college and get a job. But even when I was like 12 years old, I said, I want this, Like even when I was young, I knew I wanted it. And I mean, I don't want to say like I'm the reason why our business is successful, but I helped my dad change the ways. I helped my dad change the ways,
Yeah.
But it was hustle. It was his hustle that got us there.
Now, so what did you go to school for?
Business management.
Okay, now let me ask you this, because I'm like one of those weird guys who are like, on one end, like if I had to do it all over, I probably wouldn't have went to school at all. I would have used. Now I'm very fortunate. My mother paid for my school, then my work paid for my school, so I didn't have a big outlay for school. But if I had to pay, my education probably would have cost north of $300K all in, including the master's, because it just is what if I went away to school and did everything you were supposed to do, that's what it would have cost. However, I didn't pay that. So, but my point being is, if I had to pay all that money, I would have did it, and I would have started my own business, right? However, though, because I did take some great course and I did major in business, there are some kind of like, how do I say this? Either principles or just learnings that I got from school that I actually applied in the real world. Do you think, or do you think by going to school there are some things you learned that you applied back to the business, or really was it a waste of time?
No, there's definitely there's like a lot of junk that you gotta learn too.
Yeah.
But like I wish they would focus more on the stuff that you really need,
Yeah.
So let's say like the philosophy and classes, like those kind of classes, like come on, you're never going to use that.
Yeah.
I
like it.
It's just like nonsense. I wish they would teach kids like accounting earlier instead of later.
Correct.
Maybe you know what I mean? Yeah. I wish they would start teaching that in the 8th grade that people would learn how to manage their money and save money, because it's very sad. Like I see some of my peers, and I'm just like, wow, you guys really have such bad habits with money. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's something I was self-taught,
Well, so I want to kind of, and we're going to veer off in a second to something else where growing up, right? And again, I lost my mother at 14, so like I'm still like devastated over, and the anniversary was recent, but my point being is my mother like really instilled a good work ethic in me, and I always worked. I had like at any point 2 jobs, it's not one job, that worked 55 hours a week, right? And I worked my ass off, but there was a sacrifice. I remember like when I was a kid, I had 2 paper routes, and she would help me actually, fold the papers so I can get them out. But I was 11 years old, and I might have missed like the middle school prom and or went late. I had to do. Like, what I'm saying is like there's lots of sacrifices being Italian American, because I did work a lot, and because if my mom wasn't being a bad person, she instilled education in me, but she wanted to make sure I was going to be okay. I was the last kid.
Working a lot is something not to be ashamed of.
Well, that's one of my questions to you. How did you balance growing it up? Were you like out at 3 in the morning and then woke up at 8 to go bake the bread, or were you more of a homebody so it worked out? I want to hear how socially and culturally, and you're still a young guy, but how did you grow up, and how did you balance kind of, running a full business as an entrepreneur, but also like all your friends are going to, I don't know, whatever, hot club at Marquee or whatever, till 4 in the morning. How did you balance that out?
To be honest, like it was pretty crazy, but I would I don't want to say like I'm a little different than my dad. Like my dad could hang out in the store 12 hours a day and be okay with it. Yeah. I could be in there for 4 and then do like 2 hours of work on the outside and feel like I did what I had to do. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I'm more about like training,
Yeah.
like a good staff and having people you trust, and of course you have cameras and stuff to like. But like I don't feel it's necessary to stand in there 12 hours a day because I feel like I do so much. I do so much stuff. So you know what I'm saying?
You get why I'm laughing because respectfully, there is a difference of being a small business owner, and this is a whole other podcast, but a small business owner versus an entrepreneur. And the Italians were small business owners, and like some of these guys were wildly successful, so I can't even hold a candle to what they did. But the same token, you're more of an entrepreneur. Like, can I open up a second shop, or can I make this sandwich for better food costs without compromising quality? Can I be away to go to an event because this might get catered? You know what I mean? Like, so I get your mentality.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you a little example. So, me and my dad, we work together. Sometimes we work really good together, but sometimes it's just like, I feel like I gotta like explain to him too much because he's just like, he's like so old school with certain things. Yeah. So like, we have 50,000 followers on our Panini Shop page.
Oh shit.
So there's this thing where we used to have foodies come, and I would give them a free sandwich because they would post those, and from that we'll get like a bunch of followers, and then those people's followers are going to come. You know what I mean?
An influencer program. Yeah.
Exactly. So in the beginning, my dad was like, "Why are you giving them 3 sandwiches?" And I'm like, "Because that's 3 Instagram posts." Yeah, so he used to get so mad about it. But now, like when he's like we're making a new sandwich or a new special, he's like, "Oh, why don't you call those people to come so they could post to them?" Like, see, he's learning that. So, that's the difference though, Like, I literally like handle a lot of influencers all day. It's just like getting new people to come to the shop, doing collaborations with people. Stuff like that.
I love it. Now, so I told you there's so much to talk about, and we're going to talk about probably all of it. So here's what I wonder. You got the local Panini Shop, East Williamsburg, and you got 50,000 followers, which is, by the way, ridiculous, especially with the new algorithm, right? I do digital marketing in my day job, so I know what it takes to get to 50K. Now, here's my question. Does 50K bring in people like me? Oh shit! I saw you. I follow you guys. I drove from Jersey, and I dropped like $80.
I was gonna say, like every day. I mean, there's some customers that won't talk. They're just like they want to come there to eat and stuff. But some customers come in and they're like, "I drove from Connecticut just to get a sandwich." Like on the weekends, a lot, especially like the Saturdays and Sundays, it's a lot of like destination people. Like people are coming to us. Like they're driving 40 minutes to an hour to come get a sandwich.
See, that's amazing. See, to me, and listen, I'm going to come from Jersey. I'm going to come see you, and I'm not spending $8. I'm going to probably get 2 or 3 because I'm a pig. I'm going to probably take some home. Okay, so I love that. Now, so I'm going to tell you something. You're going to laugh at me. So I'm 42. I gained a little weight, and I got to lose some weight now because I'm like a walking heart attack. So I want to lose some weight, and I'm cutting out carbs, which
we make lettuce wraps now.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So what are you doing to? Because you probably went to your father. You're like, hey, you have to cut out carbs. He probably looked at you like,
it's funny.
So what do you do?
It's funny you say that because we got 2 options for a guy like you, and me too, because I'm not exactly, a soccer player, but.
You're not Matthew McConaughey, I got you.
So, like, we make lettuce wraps. So it's like the first couple leaves of a lettuce, and we put grilled chicken, cheese, avocado, whatever. Like we put all these ingredients inside, and then we wrap it, and then you eat it like a sandwich, like a wrap kind of, and you're cutting out the carbs. And what we also do is we make something called sandwich bowls. And
like
basically,
a pokey.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
You know what? It's funny you say that because it could be like that. And, like, let's say our Italian sub, you could get the Godfather, which we call it, in a plate.
Love it.
So we put a bed of arugula, and then we, like, put the cold cuts around it like antipasto. and the mozzarella, roasted peppers, and everything on top. So it's like an outside sandwich.
I love it.
Which it's still not healthy, but at least you're cutting the bread out.
No, I know, but it fits. I believe, and I think the avocado, because I think everything in there. I just started it. I've dropped like 5 pounds already, but I think everything fits in there to the keto diet. So, like for me, even if I don't know, I wouldn't examine every little thing, but because I probably should. But yeah, that seemed consistent. But I would still enjoy a nice meal. But I'm doing a cheat day, so I'll probably come to cheat day because I do want the bread. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more of the business and we're going to get into cultural because, like I told you, we're going to keep it casual, and I love what you're saying. So what effect – you don't have to give sales numbers because you're a privately owned family business, but give me percentages. When did you get involved with Instagram? When did you start – it's all digital marketing essentially, right? When did you start doing it, and what effect did it have on the bottom line?
I'm going to give you a little background
just
because I feel like it's necessary to, like, really understand.
Yeah.
But basically, just a little story about me personally. Yeah. When I dropped out of school, I was like 19, 20 years old, and we were opening a liquor store.
Nice.
So I was working at my dad, but we used to argue so much, you know?
Yeah.
Like we bumped heads a lot. So
Shocker.
So basically, he was opening a liquor store, and I kind of saw the opportunity. And I just, like, started, like, sitting in on meetings, and I just basically took it over myself.
Oh, nice.
So then what happened was a couple of years later, like 3-4 years later, we had another location in Queens that was available.
Yeah. Nice.
And my dad's like, what would you put here? And I'm like, what we have in Brooklyn. And I changed the whole menu at that point. And, like, we could name it the same thing, Anthony and Son Panini Shop. But, like, I, like, kind of did it on purpose, but I made it so much, like, more better than my dad's at that moment.
Nice.
Because, like, I put, like, 7 new sandwiches that were crazy. Like, we have a sandwich with chicken cutlet, vodka sauce, fresh mozzarella on a garlic hero.
Oh my God.
And, like, my dad didn't have that sandwich yet. And It was just, like, you know, like, he wanted the same menu. And we were getting, like, all these crazy 5-star reviews and this and that. So I kind of always, like, tease my dad, like, I got 5 stars and you got 4. Like, you know, like, teasing him. And then what happened was, like, that neighborhood in Maspeth, Queens, it's not as good as Williamsburg. So some of the things I was doing for my shop was, like, affecting his more, you know?
Oh,
like,
wow, okay.
When we would make a new sandwich, like, by Maspeth, you'll get like 10 or 12 people to try it, but in Williamsburg, it's like 30, 40. You know what I mean? Like,
okay. So local tastes are different.
The demographic of people, like between deliveries, because we're on like Pub, Seamless, you know, delivery.com.
Did you do Uber Eats yet?
We did, but we stopped it because like they took 30% and like they just like they always have problems with their drivers and stuff. So we're busy enough where we really don't need Uber Eats, thank God.
No, and it's a whole other podcast. But I would love also your thoughts on how you pay. Okay, beautiful. So you use delivery. Delivery now is actually on the street for you, which is interesting. But okay, so you use different services. You do different stuff. Local flavors are different. Keep going, because I'm very interested in this part of the discussion as well.
So basically, then basically I was working like at that point 12-hour days and. You know, like at the end of the week, there'll be like $2,000 left over or whatever. And by the time you pay bill, like it just was like the numbers wise, like you're breaking our ass just to like make some money. Meanwhile, in Brooklyn, like my dad was breaking his behind to like make money. And then like we're just killing ourselves. So I'm like, yo, like let's sell that and let's like just like do it together and let me take over. Like, I kind of told my dad, like, just let me do my thing.
But if you don't, Sabino, hold on, because as not, I told you, the big entrepreneur spin to this, other than as well as cultural. That's what, you know. It was an exit, right? You sold out. Did you sell it for profit, loss, or break even?
No, we made money.
Okay, good. So you got out of that. But see, this is what I love because I wasn't expecting this, which is great. This is also great entrepreneur discussion. Culturally,
that's why I say the business didn't fail. We just wanted to focus on what else we had going on, you know? Cause like,
but that's a great entrepreneur. You pivoted.
Exactly.
You pivoted. That's a great entrepreneur.
I felt we reached our peak there, and it just wasn't worth our time. So this is what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
And when I came to Brooklyn, instead of working at 12-hour days, like making sandwiches all day, serving customers, I was focusing more on the social media aspect and like taking good pictures and getting people in the shop to like, you know, the influencers that we were talking about. And, you know, I want to say in like a year, we went from 5,000 Instagram followers to like 20.
Wow.
So like we just created a brand, you know?
Okay, so you're an entrepreneur, so you demonstrate, okay, you expand into a new market, you kind of capitalize on that market, you realize it wasn't kind of congruent to the brand, so you pivoted, sold out, had an exit, made a few bucks, went back. What was the percentage increase in business, let's say top line, on the panini shop when you went back? Was it 10%, 20%, 50%? What percentage increase did it grow?
I want to say we doubled 100%.
Shit.
100%, yeah.
Over what time period?
3 years.
So I bet you and your father weren't arguing too much, right? After that, or was it growing phase?
No, but you know what? He's my dad, and he still always like says, "Well, you don't work." Like sometimes he's like, "You don't work," you know.
Okay.
So he'll never like give me 100% credit, but like when we're outside of the shop and he's feeling nice and he has 2 drinks in him, he'll be like, "I'm proud of you," you know. And that's rare.
Well, Let's talk about pivoting. Let's pivot to the cultural part of the discussion, which is how we kind of met. Tell us about your parents. Tell us about your parents as people. As people. Tell what it means for you growing up Italian, and I'd like to hear a little bit about that.
My parents were both born in Italy.
Yeah.
My mom came when she was 7, and my dad came when he was like 18. So just that 11-year age difference is very different because my mom did her schooling in here, and my dad didn't. Yeah. So like I think that's the biggest difference, you know.
Correct. Now, okay, so a little bit of an age difference, which is normal in the entire world back then. So that's not a big deal. Even now, like Trump is 25 years older. So that's okay. So that makes sense.
I mean, they're only a year different.
But where they broke? Okay, where they got?
Because they met here. They met here when they were like 20, and my dad was 21. But I'm saying like as far as when they immigrated to America, like my mom came with her whole family.
She's Americanized.
She's Americanized. My dad isn't really.
Got it. Okay. Now, so you had like both. You had more the Italian upbringing and the Italian American upbringing. So give us some of the things you did. Like were you like I know you're young, but like did you hit the stickball days or did you what you did growing up that like is not like what parts even at 28 of the Italian culture are not there anymore versus when you were a kid and you're young? And what are some of the things that you think are striving and maybe coming back?
That's a good question. I mean, it's a part of the neighborhood that changed too, but there's definitely not as many kids as when I was growing up. It was very family oriented. Now to have a family and raise them in Williamsburg is expensive. Like a 2-bedroom apartment is $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
So let's say a family with 3 kids, like you're not going to see a 4-bedroom apartment, Correct. So it's like all young people that are working.
Okay.
A lot of single people.
You're not seeing, and this is, I think everywhere. I would give you $500 if I saw a group of 3 kids on bikes riding to the park. Or I'll give you $1,000. I'm sorry, a kid riding a bike to the park. It's about play dates. It's about like just you can't leave the house. So I think that is across the board. And now let's go to the other side. What are some of the traditions, whether you kept them up or your family's insisted on? What are some of the traditions that you're keeping up?
Definitely our patron saints.
What's the same for your town?
Our Lady of Snow.
Okay, cool.
And the society is in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, where I live. And
nice.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to keep that tradition alive because it's something that's dying. and we go back to Italy a lot to celebrate it there as well.
Okay, so important question. Whether, and this is another whole again on the podcast, is because your parent, so your father, do you know what year he came over?
87.
Okay, so he came over a lot later, but my family came over in the 50s, late 50s. Yeah, people come over earlier, people come over later, right? However, they brought in the 1950s mindset, right? And it came to the U.S., and it's almost like music. As a kid, like you listen to certain music, and then you grow up, but you stick with that music. The same thing I think happens with culture, right? Where they bring the 1950s Italian-American culture and, like, instill it upon us, right? But then you go to Italy, and they, in a way, advanced. I remember going to Italy. I haven't been there in a while. I haven't been there. I went like 10 times in 10 years, and then life hit me hard, and I just haven't been back. But I'm going to go back soon. But one of the things I found funny was I would go there, and I remember I was whatever age, and people were living with their girlfriend, cohabitate. And I'm like, well, wait a second. In the U.S., if you lived before, it's a little different now, but before, if you lived with your girlfriend before you got married, before you gave her a ring, the Italians would flip. But over there, it was accepted. So to me, I actually think there's even a divergence between Italian American culture and a current Italian culture. Give us your opinion.
I agree with that.
Give us your opinion.
It's funny you say that because that's something I was talking about with my dad the other day.
Yeah.
And even my cousin that's visiting us from Italy, because I'll give you another example. I listen to some old school Italian music, from the 70s, and she's like, nobody listens to this, and I'm like,
yes,
everybody listens to this. Like Italian Americans, you go to an Italian wedding, you'll hear Ti amo, guaranteed, but you won't in Italy,
Yep.
So Italian Americans, first generation, are more old school than Italians, and even as far as with the dialect. I speak the Napolitan Salerno dialect, and it's people there are like, what the hell are you saying? But meanwhile, me and my cousins, that we all speak that, and it's 20 of us. So it's just it's crazy. But you're 100% right.
I love it. Now, I was very fortunate to have some cool Italian Americans on. Who do you follow? What accounts do you follow? If you could share that with us.
For Italian.
On IG primarily, yeah. In terms of Italian theme sites.
We on our growing up Italian, we follow 30 people.
Okay.
Some people are hardcore Italians.
I love that one. Is that the one out of Toronto, or is that the one out of?
That's the one. That's the one out of Chicago.
Chicago. Okay. Yes.
That's a father and son too.
Okay.
Mike Jr. and Mike Sr. and they're actually both. I actually met up with them and spent a couple of days out in Chicago.
Nice.
And they're really dope.
Nice.
Another guy that's really funny. His name is the Sicilian guy.
Yes, I follow him. He's hilarious.
He's from Jersey. He's from Jersey too.
Is he?
Yeah, he's from Jersey. I think originally he's from Brooklyn.
Okay.
But now he currently lives in Jersey, and I actually been to one of his shows, and he's really funny too. So I would really recommend that.
Okay.
Another funny person is Umbertone. He's a little Napolitan kid. He's 5, 6 years old, and he's a little chubby kid, and he's always dancing, and he's hilarious too.
Okay, so here's my question though. So and again, this is my another beef I have with Italians. There's a lot of how do I say this? There's a lot of divides, and I'm going to be very straight because I mean, obviously it's all out there. So I did have some ex-mobsters on the podcast, right? And I didn't have them to glorify the mafia in any way. I did it because I find it interesting. That's why it's my podcast, right? I put things on there that I found interesting, and whether we like it or not, there is a subculture that has a fascination with it, right? So I'm not unapologetic about I had them on, right? But then I also have some of the younger guys that are Italian American, and I had, I wanted to check out Modern Day Italian. Lorenzo's a great guy. Do you follow Zia Michelina at all, or the guy Mike?
Yeah. I do.
So I had him on, you know, and I have a few others in talks. I had you on now. So my point, and I also don't want to make it an all-Italian podcast, not because I don't want to. It's just because it's just not the genre of the show, but it's such an important part of my culture. But the other thing is that when I had these guys on, like, you know, like Mikey and Lorenzo, Lorenzo's not as well known yet, and he's starting to. But my point being is I had some people on, and then I reached out, and I'm not going to say names, but then I reached out to some other people that I really wanted on that were part of the Italian American community, and we're like, I don't want to be on your show because you had this person on or you had that person on. And I'm like, fuck, man, like this is media. Like the whole point is to share different point of views. So I also think there's a big divide to this day in the Italian culture and a lot of bullshit. So
yeah, we're very jealous. We're very jealous of each other.
Yeah, which is a shame. Like I don't know. Like it's funny because I you know what's funny? I bet, I'm not knocking anybody, okay, and I don't want you to get in trouble either, but I bet you have some idiot, not I didn't say idiot, but some person driving from Jersey like me, some idiot like me driving from Jersey to buy $30 of paninis, but like your cousin walks past your place to get a pressed sandwich at Starbucks. You know what I mean? And like that's the kind of shit that pisses me off. Now, I'm very lucky. My family, for the most part, is very, very supportive of my entrepreneur endeavors. But I got to tell you, my friends,
we had an episode.
Always.
We had an episode about this.
Okay.
Yeah, called
tell us about it.
It was like a jealousy episode. Basically, like Italians are like, you know, during Christmas time, you have like the Christmas lights, but you want to like once you see your neighbors, you want to outdo them, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just the way we are, and it's like it's fucked up. It's something we gotta change.
Okay, so let's wrap up a little bit. So let's touch on the pot. Well, actually, I want to do a spitfire. I'm going to ask you like 5 or 6 questions. It's kind of a yes or no, and you can expand upon it. Okay. So you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Number 1. Did you have plastic on the furniture?
What was that?
Growing up. Did you guys have plastic on the furniture growing up?
Definitely.
Okay. Number 2. Did your parents give you brioche for pretty much anything related to your stomach?
Definitely.
Okay. Number 3, is there a photo of Padre Pio or the Last Supper in your kitchen?
Padre Pio.
That's right. Okay.
Padre Pio's on my arm too.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, I have a Padre Pio tattoo.
But you're young though, so what got you into that? Like, I want to hear a little bit about that.
What tattoos?
Yeah. No, yeah, about Padre Pio. Like, you're a young guy. Like, the fact that you have a patron saint.
My family's very religious.
Nice.
And Padre Pio is one of the saints that, like, a lot of my family was actually alive when he was alive. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
And where he is kind of close to our town, too, like an hour and a half, 2 hours away.
I love it. Okay. Love it. Now, number 4, Sunday morning, soccer playing on the television when you're growing up, yes or no?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, I have number 5. I had it written down.
As we're talking, I'm watching the soccer game.
I love it. Okay, and this is last, and this is going to be the layup. But when the Italians won the World Cup, did pretty much everybody lose their shit, or were they not as engaged?
No, they would lost their shit.
So, dude, okay. So, 5 for 5.
I actually went to the last World Cup in Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was there. I was at 2 of the games.
How was that? Dope?
Of course, the 2 games we lost.
Yeah. But how's the experience?
Oh, amazing, man. Soccer is the most beautiful sport in the world.
Well, that's another thing. Like, I think Italian Americans are divided. You got the Italians that are still hardcore, which I respect. I didn't go that way. I grew up in a household of women. So, like, I wasn't into sports as much, so the sports that I adopted were more American. But, yeah, I do have friends. My nephew even actually is hardcore into soccer. I had him on the podcast because he's like literally like a professional analyst. So that makes sense. All right, so you got 5 for 5, my man. So I guess you're verified Italian, right? So I got to tell you, Don.
Does that mean we get a blue check now?
Yeah, exactly. We should start a green, white, red check that you get, and it's only from growing up Italian. See that now we're getting somewhere. And Italians are jealous. So like, if you tell somebody it's $500, they'll offer you 600 because they want to make sure they can get it. Or even better, Italians will want a deal and offer 350. But you know how that is, right? So
they'll say, I'll give you 450.
That's actually not a bad idea, right? So all right. So your podcast, you have big numbers on your Instagram, and your regular page is growing. What kind of numbers are you doing? I know it's very early, and I know the podcast game.
On the podcast?
Yes, because we think we have 20 active listeners. That's actually a lot. So how many listeners do you have? How are you promoting it?
How many listeners did you say?
Yeah, as far as I know the analytics sucked, and I'm still figuring it out myself. But approximately how many listeners and what has the response been?
Okay, so my cousin has a login where you see like the exact numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
But we get anywhere from like 250 views on the episode to 1,000.
Nice.
So like our lowest episode has 250 views,
nice.
And our best has like 1,000, like 1,200.
But like in the podcasting world, that's strong because it's not radio. And the cool thing is, I bet you a lot of these people, you don't even know who the hell they are. Like they found you,
true.
Right?
That's very true. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So going to conclude with, what question didn't I ask that you wish I asked?
No, I actually think you asked a lot of important things, and even I think I would have missed some of these questions. Like you were very well prepared.
Well, I got to tell you this, and I was going to say this in the beginning, but I'll say this now. So I love what you're doing, and the reason why. Okay, so I'm going to be very frank. I grew up, 100% Italian. I caught the wave, thank God, of everybody around us was Italian. Italian was spoken in the house. All of our relatives were obviously Italian. My parents were older. I was born one of 6. So I might have caught, some of the heyday, but I'm still immersed in the culture, right? And I lost my mother in 14. And I'm gonna be brutally honest. When I was growing up, there was American, right? The Italian Americans or the Americans that really weren't Italian, but they were into it. And I was always kind of laugh, oh my God, this guy's third generation, coming over during this possum. This is normal for us. Like they were aliens to us because for us it was normal. So now, unfortunately, I lost my mom. My father died years ago. And although we do steep some Italian culture, my life is dramatically different. So now I am keenly interested in Italian subjects because I miss it. You know what I mean? I never ever, because I don't cook that well. My personal situation is I'm separated, so my personal situation is I'm not, I have to cook, I have to learn how to cook, all this other stuff. But my point being is, I actually go out to eat for pasta once in a while, which is sacrilege, but I have to because I just don't have the means. So what I'm saying is, I am dying, and I have such an appetite for the Italian culture and huge consumption because I fucking miss it. I just really miss it. And with my children who are 100% Italian, I do my best to, keep the culture alive. My ex-in-laws, they are Italian, so they, speak Italian to them. So this is really important to me what you're doing. So I don't want you to ever, a podcast, so you don't make a lot of money and they're paying the balls and, you get annoying guests sometimes. But just so I want to say this, thank you for what you're doing. And guys like me, it's fucking meaningful, because it keeps my mother and her spirit alive. So I just want to thank you for that. And how can we find you, my man? It's my pleasure.
That's what we do it. That's what we do it for,
Love it. So how can we find you? Feel free to share your podcast handles, and also share the Panini Shop handles again.
The Growing Up Italian podcast is exactly that.
Nice.
At Growing Up Italian.
Nice.
We always have the link in our bio for the latest episode.
Smart.
So yeah, definitely check us out. Check out a couple episodes, because some our episodes are very different. So
yes.
Some are for more people than others.
Yes.
The Panini Shop is at Panini Shop, PANISHOPPE, and my personal page is Sabino Curcio, SABINO CURCIO. I do a bunch of other stuff too, so.
Love it. Now, instead of wasting this just because we didn't have a lot of time, but let me ask anyway because I have a little fun. Single, married, girlfriend? What story?
Single.
Oh, nice. So maybe there might be a nice Italiana listening, and you never know, man.
I have kids.
Oh, God bless. How many?
I have a pair of twins that are 2.5.
God bless, man. God bless.
Yeah.
That's
Also, so
father
I want to be I'm a family man before anything, you know.
I love it. I love it. Well,
my kids come first.
I got to ask this though. So I'm, recently was the same boat in terms of, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm having a hard time balancing it because I'm putting my kids first, and my business is also very important because I'm like an entrepreneur. It's like if I don't make the panini sandwich, I don't eat. So how do you balance, time with your children and being a great dad with
you just gotta manage your time,
Yeah.
You just gotta really, when you're with your kids, you gotta really enjoy it. You gotta do fun things with them, like create memories.
Well,
when you're not with them, you gotta focus on what you're doing too. So that's my two things in life. That's what I do. I work and I spend time with my kids and I work.
No, you know what? And it may sound simple to some people, but there's a certain level of greatness. There's a certain level. There is not a level. There's a huge level of greatness in that because that's what you want. And you stay in your lane and you do it. So let's do this for a second, okay? Now, the other thing I want to bring up is you said this earlier. And if there's anything that really stuck out on this podcast, there's many things that should stick out. But it's a time and money exchange where you seem to value your time more than your parents did, more than our parents did. And that's not a bad thing. Not that they didn't respect your time, but they would rather work and do everything themselves. And then you're like, what's the opportunity cost, right? You could have somebody else do it, and you could be out with your children.
Yep.
So, so is that something that you always believed in, or is that something? And you're young still, or is that something that hit you recently after fatherhood? Because that's one of the things I'm finally learning. I'm saying, okay, I can exchange time for money and give up some time, pay for it, have somebody else do it that's better at it than me, and then I can be with my children. So you got to have to be 43 years to understand this. So when did you realize the time versus money exchange?
I think a little before I had my kids, to be honest with you.
Smart.
I have good workers. I have really good workers. And I have some people that do us a little too.
Okay.
And we know we're constantly plugging in people. And the days I know I have my kids, I have somebody to do my job,
That's it. Yeah.
It's not that difficult if you plan it,
I love it.
But family time definitely comes first to me because, my kids are so funny. They're great.
What are the names, if you mind sharing?
Alessandra
nice.
and Antonio.
God bless. Well, listen, God bless to them. God bless to you. And folks, and he invited me on their podcast, a new series podcast.
I will, definitely. We got to set up another conference call like this, or you can come in person.
Oh, no, for you, I'm coming in person. For you, I'm coming in person. Our Instagram followership is not as big as yours, but we do some pretty good web traffic. So I want to promote your business, and we'll include this part, but stay on the line. And thanks for being on the show, man.
All right, I appreciate it.